Hi Sunil. Hi Piroko. Hello everyone. Hi. Hi guys. We're just waiting for Lakshmi to join in and then we'll start. Hello Sunil sir, how are you? Hi Lakshmi, how are you?
Hey, hi. Hi, Vineet. Good, how are
All
you?
good?
Yes,
So
all
how's
good.
lockdown treating you?
Pretty good, actually. How's it treating you?
Same as you. All right, guys, a very warm welcome joining us for the Like a Live sessions. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Lakshmi Kaul. I know her thoroughly, but for people who don't know, a photographer and philanthropist, Mrs. Lakshmi Kaul, she took up the camera at the tender age of 8 years, highly inspired by her hobbyist father. A mother of two teens. She's a self taught photographer who took up professional photography a decade back and has not looked back since then. She gets inspired by everyday situations, by people, their lives, and their stories. To name a few from her area of photographic work is her Kashmir series, Beyond Boundaries, and the Mahakumbh Mela. So, Lakshmi, you said you started at the age of 8, where people are just, girls are just trying to play with dolls. You picked up a
Yeah,
camera. Why
yeah.
that?
You also said in the very same sentence that it was initiated by my father, which is what happened. So
Hmm.
at that age, girls are also obsessed with their fathers
Right,
in most
right,
cases.
right,
So my father was a hobbyist, and photography and fishing were the two things that he did on a regular basis. And
right.
I would accompany him on his escapades, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, and I used to watch him shoot and watch him fish and watch him do it very patiently. And over time, unknowingly, I was observing what he was doing, and I think the seed of photography was sown right then.
Hmm.
And at one point, he did buy me a camera as well, and so what I started doing was aping him because I
Hmm.
wanted to be like him and shoot like him and see things
Right,
like him.
right.
So, as I said, that's where the seed was sown. And
Hmm.
um I was 11 when he passed away, and that's when it was difficult for me to go back to photography because I was emotionally connected to it
Hmm.
because of him.
Right.
Gave it up for a while, and life went on. And
Hmm.
it was about 13 years ago that I restarted
Hmm.
with a full bang because I was missing it. And
Hmm.
before that, I was doing, travel photography and shooting family and friends and my kids,
Hmm.
and never so passionate and never giving it much thought and never being serious or
Hmm.
never looking at it as for me, it was just a tool. Okay, that's a camera. I got to take a picture, and that's it. That's me taking the picture. But the photos would always be special, even for a
Hmm.
viewer. And I never took it very how do I say? I never put too much of my thought into it because photography directly connected me back to my
Hmm.
father. It was
So
just a very yeah.
it was more of a passion, and it was
It
also more of an emotional baggage which you were carrying and
That's
trying
right.
to
That's
make.
right.
You
That's
said
right.
a very interesting point. I don't know if it was subconscious when you spoke, but you said you wanted to shoot like he shot. You
Yes.
wanted to see things like he saw. So now
Yes.
at that time, I clearly remember that obviously you had to see prints. You cannot, they
Yes.
were not digital files that you could just look at, or your father could show you that, see, this is what I shot. And they were
Right.
enough for prints. I mean, there must be exchange of a lot of prints. So, what was that special thing? Obviously, daughters are really connected to fathers. But what was that vision of your father that you wanted to connect with, or you wanted to show the world that this is how you wanted to expand on that photography side?
I think at that point I was too young to understand different visions
Mm,
or different voice, what a voice means in
mm,
photography. I was too young to understand that. I was just merely role playing. I was just
right,
merely, imitating my hero. And
right.
little did I know that it will stay inside me and
Mm,
become my best friend forever. So
right.
there wasn't a particular aspect of his photography that I wanted to, copy or I mean, I couldn't. I was too young to even understand the nuances at that point. But yes,
Mm,
he did have a dark room at home, and I would see him printing and the smell of
mm,
the
mm,
chemicals, and
mm.
I do remember all that very, very, very.
So will it be fair to say that camera was your first crush?
My camera was my first. No, second crush after my father.
Of course, that's so. You've spoken about your inspiration in photography. Your father was definitely your inspiration, but then there's also, a lot of other photographers who are working at probably, at the same era, or
Yeah.
maybe younger, or maybe older. Uh, of course, they could have some kind of inspiration. Is there any photograph in particular which made you think that, okay, now I have to start taking pictures?
Oh God. Um, what has stayed with me, I don't know what the term would be, but
Hmm.
back then I remember just before he left us, he was printing in the darkroom a photograph of a drop, uh, you know, in dropping into
Water?
water, and then yeah.
Hmm.
So I
All right.
remember that very clearly, and that has stayed with me. But apart from that, I never. I actually just did that and closed shop and
Hmm.
put photography away completely after he left. And
Hmm.
when I got back to it, I did not go to any school. I've not um, I didn't go to a teacher.
Hmm.
I didn't really have like a formal training
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
a formal. I didn't seek it.
Hmm.
So it just came back to me, and
Hmm.
it came back in such a way that um, that I wanted to now discover it completely on my
Hmm.
own merit, and in a way, in my mind, um, feel that my father would be proud if if I'm able to accomplish this. So
Right.
I never went seeking a teacher. I never went seeking any other photographer or going through their work. I just followed my instinct right through and through. It was very later on that I started really opening up books and wanting to start having the feeling to study more, to find
Hmm.
out more, the
Right. So
curiosity.
you said that, you wanted to make your father proud that you picked up photography and maybe followed the same path. But then,
Yeah,
there's always a time in a photographer's life that there's a motivation or inspiration that he's following, and then suddenly he discovers a path of himself. And
that's
then he
right.
starts deviating. So when did that happen? Because otherwise, I look at your work. I've seen your work. I've worked closely with your works. I have seen you evolve, in
Yeah.
the past 5 years. So I definitely see that change. So
Yeah.
is it conscious or you are doing it subconsciously? Because I think a lot of viewers, they should understand that is it a conscious process or is it subconscious that you evolve?
I think the subconscious leads to the conscious because
Mm,
it needs to be somewhere inside you for it to
mm,
have space inside you for you to have thought about it and then to put that
mm.
thought into action. So
Right.
subconsciously, as I said, I'm completely self-taught, but I did
Mm,
realize along the way that I need to now grow my horizons. I need to understand things better. I need to understand why and how. So
mm,
uh, that part pulled me and made me kind of slow down and stop and try and understand my gear, understand different genres of photography, um,
mm,
So I think it happened very subconsciously, but I'm glad that I heard my subconscious and I didn't. I've
Mm.
always been a very instinctive person. So I'm
Right.
glad that I listened to my instinct and I followed that and I put thought into it and then I started grooming myself consciously.
Right. So is there a particular genre where you feel that you fall into that kind of genre right now?
I very much enjoy slow documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is something that I enjoy the process. I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the thought that goes into it, and um, actually, what I enjoy the most in slow documentaries are that I get to know myself better as well.
Mm.
Because as you're peeling layer by layer and as you're stepping deeper into the documentary and to the lives of
Mm.
the person you're documenting or the
Mm.
culture that you're documenting, you also learn a lot about your own self in the bargain.
Right.
And
Right.
to
So
me, that
it's
is yeah,
so photography is clearly not shooting what we are seeing. It's looking
no,
inside and showing
definitely,
whatever.
definitely.
So,
For me, yes.
I've seen you with so many Leicas. Why Leica? Because I will pick up this question because it's my love for the camera and I have to ask this. Why Leica for you?
Um, so I do work. Some of these slow documentaries that I'm doing are in
Mm-hmm.
places that are that have a very rugged path,
Mm.
not just getting to them, but also
Mm.
surviving there.
Mm.
The weather is unpredictable. I work with various, conditions of light. I mean, sometimes
Mm.
it's high up in the in the mountains, high altitude, light plays havoc at
Mm.
any time. So I
Mm.
needed something. I needed gear that was tried and tested, and um, that is robust for sure. Because
Right.
yeah, I needed something that walked hand in hand with me without me worrying about
Mm.
oh my gear and oh my lens and oh my this and oh my that, because uh, there was nowhere I could get to repair it in such places. There's nowhere that I can really, worry about it. Uh,
Right.
most of these places that I shoot in, that I like to shoot in, are usually either back of beyond or they're
Mm.
dangerous. So,
Right.
they're at high risk. So,
Right.
I think for me, Leica is a very robust piece of equipment, all of them, and it completely supported me always.
Right.
Also, the M system that I use a lot, it's a mirrorless and it's small, it's compact, it's light in weight,
Mm.
it's very dependable, and
Mm.
more importantly, it's because of its sheer size and its compactness,
Mm.
and because I like to do a lot of portraiture and a lot of environmental
Mm.
portraiture.
Mm.
I'm not like literally shooting in my subject's face, and it's
Mm.
the discreet. It's the you know the it's so discreet that I can actually have a conversation alongside shooting
Mm.
my subject, and I'm
Mm.
not overwhelming my subject because of the sheer
Mm.
size of the
Mm.
lens or the sheer size of my equipment. So I think
If you
Leica
remember,
works best.
Lakshmi, if you remember, we were having the same conversation in Singapore when I first met you, and we were talking
Right.
about it's the DNA of the camera also, and it's also how you get along with the camera, which made
That's
us.
true.
It is also the form which made us fall. Now I switched off the comments earlier, but now I
Thank
switched
you.
it on because
Okay.
because people are going to be asking questions. So
Sure.
it's I think that it was off, but now it's on.
Sure.
Uh, I also want to know, Lakshmi, being a woman, there are
Yeah.
also, certain battles which you fight. Now, it's the same thing. Even the guys fight battles when they have to do photography. But
Right.
are there any positives or are there any negatives being a woman photographer?
I'll start from something as basic as, first of all, I leave my home and I leave my
Hmm.
children, and that by itself is a
But don't you think that's same for the guys as well?
Of course, of course. But
Hmm.
as a mother, I think the role is slightly different,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
dependency of children when they're younger is much higher on a
Right.
mother.
Right.
And so I started leaving them. Now they're big, but
Hmm.
at that point when I started, they were much younger, and
Hmm.
so that's why I said I'll start from there. It
Right.
was difficult, but I think the passion really drove me.
Hmm.
to do to make up my mind and
mm,
do what I really
mm,
passionately wanted to do.
mm,
Apart from that, being a woman, safety wise,
mm.
well, I've had some my fair share of experiences in terms of
Right.
safety.
Mm,
Various parts, various shoots.
right.
But but you got to decide at that
Mm,
point that do you really want to fall weak, or all this effort that you've made and all this
mm,
all this hard work that you've put into to actually get there, do you want to let that go waste? So you kind of pull up your socks and you say to yourself that I'm here now and
mm,
I have to make the best of this, and so you just
mm,
put on your brave mask and
mm,
walk on like a soldier. So safety wise, yes, that part is sometimes a bit unnerving.
mm,
But there are a lot of pros as well because being a woman photographer,
mm,
women trust me easier, for
mm.
sure. Men also
Right.
do trust me. So
Okay.
portraiture gets slightly easier.
And
Portraiture, which
also, I also feel like if it's not India, if it's not Asia, women are still okay to shoot some children outside India. There's
yeah,
a trust factor.
right,
It's very good that you spoke about the positives as well, because
yeah.
whenever I've spoken, people talk about, oh, there's so much to do, there's so much negatives. Lakshmi,
Oh no, oh no, yeah,
there's one thing which, I've seen in you. You are a different person with a camera and you're a different person without the camera. Is it only you, or is it just a photographer's point of view that they get into that zone? I've seen you so mature when you are with a camera, and otherwise you just behave like a kid, which I think all of us should have that kid inside
yeah.
us. But with a camera, you're so mature, you're looking for content, and you're constantly seeing things. So
Yeah.
I just elaborate a little bit more about that.
I think one should never stop being a kid with or without the camera. That's
Mm-hmm.
what keeps you. That's what keeps you on your toes, and that's what keeps your mind constantly working.
Mm-hmm.
So that aspect is something that I don't think I ever want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with a camera, without a camera. What happens to me when I'm with a camera is that I go into this complete zone where I can have a bus, hit me and go in, and I will not even be able to hear those sounds of the bus coming because I go into this complete different, mode um, where not just my subject, not just the frame that I'm working on, but
Mm-hmm.
m- my layers inside me are also beginning to, unravel and unfold, and I need to have that. I need to have a certain kind of a thought process going on, which will match and align my
Mm-hmm.
mind, my eyes, my soul, my body, all of that. That alignment is very important for me,
Mm-hmm.
and um, if I don't have that, I will not be able to shoot. And if I don't have that, I will just keep the camera away. And you'll see me, I'll be busy yapping and chatting with people all around. And there have been times where you've actually had to go look for me because I'm so busy chatting to people. But but yes, so that alignment for me is very important. And I guess that's what you mean by maturity. That's
Yes.
what you mean by being
I
a completely different person.
Yeah, so I also wanted, the point you've touched again is that there will be days when you get pictures and there will be days you don't get pictures. There are
Yeah,
times when you are in a frame of mind, and then there are times you
yeah.
are not in the frame of mind. I also wanted to ask that, is the quality of equipment very important in a photographer's life?
Huh. Um, Well, if you want to, be a professional in the business,
Hmm,
then your choice of gear and the choice of the equipment that you have is important because that is what
hmm,
will give you your high quality, the best
hmm,
quality images. So,
hmm,
um, so yes, choice of equipment will matter if you want to be a professional in the business. Having said that, I think knowing your gear, irrespective of whatever it is,
right.
knowing your gear is crucial because it is your
Hmm,
gear that actually helps you to work on your story in a more creative way
hmm,
without getting too entangled in technical complications.
Mm.
So be it any gear, high quality or whatever, however, whatever you have, getting to know your gear is most crucial. And
One thing which I've realized is while talking to you it doesn't really matter that the gender of photographer, whether it's a woman or a guy, because the thought process of a photographer is a process of a photographer. Like you don't
yeah,
categorize, a singer. It's
yes,
like you don't categorize a doctor. So similarly, you've been putting in lovely thoughts for all. I think there are a lot of women photographers who just need to
yeah,
step out and just be
yes,
comfortable
yes.
with, and that's why I really wanted to talk or,
And Vineet, it's
with you.
okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to fall, and
Absolutely.
it's okay to go out and not get the image you want. It's absolutely okay because,
Mm,
in my opinion, I think if you ask me, my best teacher and my inspiration comes from my mistakes.
mm,
Um, because that when I make a mistake, it actually teaches me to think in a different way and
right.
to rethink. First of all, to rethink, and then to think in
Mm,
a different way and to open your mind's eye and recalibrate. So
mm,
I think making mistakes is okay. I mean,
mm,
be it a man, be it a woman, be it a child, anybody who's holding a camera, it's okay to falter. It's okay to go out and not come back with even one image. It's absolutely
mm,
okay. Because
mm,
what will happen in that process is that you will start to think, you will start to put you will start to slow down first, and then you
mhm,
will start to put more thought into your shots and your
mm,
images, which
mm.
is, I think, half your battle won.
Right. So I think this would be the right time to ask that what is there in your bag when you step out?
um, so I've over the years I've kind of matured
Mm,
and I've moved from being worried about my gear to not being so worried about my gear.
mm,
I
mm,
will now always have my M240,
mm,
which I can't do without. A 50 mm, a 35 mm that goes
mm,
with it,
mm.
and a backup camera. So that could be these days I enjoy the either the SL or the Q2. So
Well,
depends on
you
what.
haven't you
Yeah.
haven't mentioned the Noctilux, which you always have, but I think I should tell people that I took the Noctilux from you and I tried it for the first time. It was wonderful.
Yeah,
So guys who
yeah.
don't know, the Lakshmi keeps lending me also some gears, which I keep trying. Thank you so much for that. So
My pleasure.
Lakshmi, see, which accessory do you prefer the most or recommend to budding photographers?
Because I use the M240 so much,
Mm,
I
mm,
am now, for the past some time, enjoying the EVF, the electronic viewfinder, because
mm,
I'm not so tall, and sometimes you need to fit into
mm.
compact spaces, and you don't have space behind you to move. If you
Right.
have limitations with your lengths,
Mm,
if you have limitations on your lengths, if I have a 50
mm,
or a 35,
mm,
or 50 rather, because I'm
mm.
I think more or less a 50 user. If I have
Mm,
limitations with that, I think that's where the EVF really, really helps me because
mm,
it helps me with a different perspective. I can
right.
shoot with a completely different perspective with that little tool.
Mm,
Um, another accessory, which is a digital accessory, which I'm completely
mm.
enjoying, is using the Leica app, the Leica Photos
Oh
app,
yeah, this is
because
brilliant. Mm,
yeah, because I'm able to see my images right there and then,
mm.
and play around. You can shoot through your phone. You can do all kinds of things. So I'm enjoying these two accessories as of now.
Right.
Let's see
So
what
like you,
new
you
like.
mentioned you mentioned EVF and you said uh, you know you can't there are times when you can't compose the scene that you the way you want to.
Mhm.
I'll throw a question at you.
Yeah.
Whether
Uh-oh.
you'll take whether you'll take composition or you'll take content. Composition
Uh-oh.
versus content.
Mm. Well, I think content will not be good enough content without a good composition.
Mhm.
I think they go hand in hand.
If if you have to choose one, I'll tell you, okay, this is a shot which you can get. Will you wait for the content or you'll be happy with the composition and get away?
I will wait for the content
You'll
for
wait for the
sure.
content. All right.
For sure.
So listeners, please keep in mind that, when you are into documentary and when you are into photojournalism and when you trying to create stories, then content does overtake composition. But the best way is that when you get the content, place yourself in such a way that you get the right composition. Like she
That's
said, that
right. That's right.
it has to go hand in hand.
You'll
It
be a
is you.
winner. That's a winning shot.
If you don't have the composition right with the content, then it falls flat. And if you have the composition without content, then it doesn't work. All right.
Yeah, then it's
So
flat.
you said you're a philanthropist. Tell us a
Oh
little
my
bit
God.
about that.
Oh, I'm not sure if that is the if that is
Mm,
the right. It's quite a big term,
mhm,
and it's a big word. It has a lot of weight, and I'm
mm,
not sure I'm qualified to even use that term. But
mm,
since that is a term that will explain what I do,
mm,
so because of doing so many slow documentaries and shooting a lot of
mm,
contemporary work,
mm,
um, over the time I realized that breaking it down, further
mm,
breaking it down,
mm,
humanities and all aspects of humanity is what I think I was most passionate about, and I
mm,
love doing the most. Showing things as is, showing, communicating situations real time
mm,
through my images.
right.
Um, so I did realize that maybe I can use this to
Mhm,
show situations where people needed help, or people
mm,
needed basically people who needed help. And I was lucky enough that I got to partner with some amazing foundations, and
mm,
Como Foundation is a
mm,
very big name that it's run by a woman. It's an all women's team,
mm,
and those people amaze me. And they I tied up. I partnered with them to
mm,
shoot and to showcase how they are helping um, through their work women
mm,
and the girl child in
right.
various parts of Nepal, basically the villages of Nepal, again in the boonies.
Mm,
So
mm,
something that really gets me all excited
mm,
to go to these unknown places where
mm,
ghost town kinds. So
mm,
I got to showcase their lives. I got to showcase the kind of work that these foundations are doing, and
mm,
add my two bit to it
right.
through my visual stories, basically.
Mm,
So
mm,
apart from that, there was the world of school,
mm,
women in Asia, a few projects
mhm,
like that.
mm,
Some of them were self-funded. Actually, most of them were. But again, that is not something that I put thought into. If the cause is strong enough, and if the people who are in that cause are all honest
mm,
and
mm.
passionate about it, then I will be
Sure.
happy
I
to be a
mean,
part of it. Yeah.
people who know you, they know that you're a very compassionate person, and how you treat people is so, there's so much of warmth. Now, this is the last question, which I'm going to throw, but I'm requesting the audience,
Okay.
if they have any questions, then please, they should feel free to ask questions now. Uh, I I saw your Kashmir series, which I'm going to show people or the audience also. How did that happen?
Nothing in my life is without a story.
Hmm.
So this also is a story. I was in Ladakh,
Hmm.
Leh, shooting the Kal Chakra Festival,
Hmm.
shooting His Holiness the Dalai Lama,
Right.
and yeah, and that was such a beautiful experience. And I needed to get on a plane back to Delhi to come back home to Singapore, and
Hmm.
I couldn't find any flight. So I decided to drive to Srinagar instead and take a plane from
Hmm.
there. And on the way there, I got stuck behind an army convoy, and
Hmm.
so I decided to walk instead of just waiting for the vehicles to move. And in that process, I came across a nomad family that was coming from the opposite side, and something inside me just triggered, and I pulled out my camera, and
Hmm.
I got talking to them, and I got permission to shoot them. And I really enjoyed speaking with them, and I think they enjoyed speaking with me too, because they passed me their phone number, and they said to come and
Hmm.
visit, and
Hmm.
come and visit them, basically. So
Hmm.
that's where that idea was originated. And
Hmm.
uh, uh, it took me a while to work around it, and to get my head around it, because this
Mm.
is Kashmir we're talking about. It's, it's
Right.
a war zone. At
Right.
that time, it was still high in militancy. It still is. And so I had to put a lot of thought and work into this. Uh, One day I just called them up and found out where they were. And then on a whim, I just left. I just left for Kashmir, and that's how it started. I found them. I
Mm.
started, shooting them, and then one thing led to another, and they introduced me to
Mm.
other members of their family and other
Right.
tribes, and that were also on that same path. And
Right.
in that process, I used to pass by a lot of the villages that are bordering
Mm.
India and
Mm.
Pakistan on the line of
Mm.
control.
Mm.
So some of the images
How
that were,
how
example,
easy
this
or
one.
how difficult was that? Yeah, talk about this picture. Sorry, I'll come to that question. Please talk about
Yeah,
this
so
picture.
this image is in one of the villages, which
Mm-hmm.
is again right on the border,
Mm.
right on the
Mm.
line of control.
Mm.
And the people there are simple, they're very simple, they're very humble and
Mm.
loving, and
Right.
this is a plain sheer village life. So they were actually very enamored, as you can see in this photograph. I think it's behind you.
Yeah.
They're very curious. They're very curious to see what's going on and who's this new
Mm.
face in town. And
Mm.
so it took me a couple of times of going back there for them to kind of break the ice and get friendly with me. And then they started recognizing me.
Right. So you did spend a lot of time here
I
to
did.
get your shot.
I did spend a lot of time. Yes,
Because like
I
a
did.
frame like
I
this, you really have to be, close to a person or know the person to actually talk a little
Yes.
bit more about the person. So this
And
is
and
very, very
and
nice.
yeah, thank you. And I, for one, don't like pose shots so much. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to wait for my subject to be totally at ease and comfortable with
Mm.
me.
Mm.
And that'll happen only after I spend some time and I break the ice. And they
Mm.
also did see me for a long time go up and down, and
Mm.
they did
Right.
realize that I'm bringing them no harm.
And last but not the least, this is my favorite. Somehow I can't, uh, you know, the picture is not proper because that's how Instagram lets me show it. But this is my
Right.
favorite. Just talks so much of, there is so much of calmness, but there's again at the same time there's restlessness in the frame. I
Yeah.
can I can look at the woman and I can feel that there's so much strength the way she is posing, but at the same
Yeah.
time,
She's
if
so
you look in
stoic.
a yeah, so how did you capture that? Like, what is the story behind this?
Again, nomads. Living in their tents in the foothills of the Himalayan range,
Mm,
camped out under trees. And I happened to see this entire settlement. There were about 20 tents there,
mm,
um, and to get to these tents was a 2-day process because I needed a lot of army permissions, and I
right.
needed uh, I needed two black cats to accompany me because I wasn't allowed
Mm,
for my own safety without
right.
them.
Mm,
Um, so to get to to get to this settlement and to shoot this particular
mm,
shot took me 2 days. So there was a lot of angst inside me also, and there was a lot
mm,
of restlessness because I wasn't sure if I will be able to get there or not get there, and
mm,
I'm running short of time. I'm worried that light has to be in my favor, weather
right.
has to be in my favor. It can just completely go against me at the drop of
Mm,
a hat. So
right.
I had a lot of angst inside me. It took me about 8 hours of a trek to even get to them,
Right.
up and down the mountains.
Mm,
At one point, I almost fell, and one of the
mm,
black cats had to actually pull me back. Otherwise, I would have lost my life that day. So there was a lot going on before this
mm,
shot happened.
mm.
Um, so
Thanks so much to
it's not
them
all
that we
fun
can
and
see
yeah.
this picture today.
Yes, absolutely. In
So if
fact,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. That's why this portrait was very important to me, and
Mm,
uh, I think we both understood each other's eyes
mm,
the moment I went and sat in front of her, and she was making rotis, and
mm, mm,
she was offering me those rotis with a cup of tea, and
mm,
she was telling me that you're tired, why don't you sit and eat? And I
mm,
said, no, I'll just watch you prepare your food. Go
mm,
ahead, and don't let me bother you. And so I kind of had a dialogue with her, and I got her at ease.
mm,
Um, And on her own, she just left what she was doing and she turns towards me and she says, "Will you take a picture of me?" And I said,
Right.
with absolutely.
Yeah.
And it came from her, and because
Mm.
it came from her, it came with so much of a kind
Mm.
of a stoicness, and they're very proud of themselves.
Right.
They're a
It
very
shows in the
proud
posture.
community.
I
Yeah,
think you just showed everything in this picture about uh, about this woman, the personality.
yeah,
Now, if you keep wondering that why am I looking on my left and the light is coming, there are a lot of questions coming for you,
right.
and I'll just pick up. The first one is from
Sure.
Catherine. Does
Yeah.
aesthetics play an important role in your choice of shots?
For sure. I think it's just naturally tuned and inbuilt that if it's not aesthetic enough, I will not bother with the frame.
Right.
So
So
yes,
is
it
it
does play a very important role.
So there are times when you frame it aesthetically, and then you come back and you edit your shots. You find another shot which is more aesthetically appealing. Does it happen that
Correct.
you
Yes.
feel that while you're taking a shot in that particular moment, this is the shot you made, but when you come
Yeah.
back and editing your shots, you find another shot. Does that happen?
That happens. That has happened a few times. And actually, that's what I mean by that's where I learn. And that's what
Right.
inspires me to, that's what inspires me to perhaps
Mm.
shoot in the way that, so I thought that was correct, but
Mm.
on the editing board, it
Mm.
doesn't come across as what I wanted it to be.
Mm.
So that's where my learning actually happens. When
Mm.
I see that there right next to it is another shot which
Mm. Mm.
I didn't think would deliver, but is actually delivering vis-a-vis the one that I thought would.
Right. So shoot with your heart, edit with your brain.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So this is by, I don't know the name. It's called VJSDPL. For street photographer,
Okay.
how important is printing in your work? Do you ever print your work?
Um, I do. I had started printing my work a few years ago, and storage is a big issue, especially in the place that I live
Mm,
in. So
mm,
I would love to print my images. Of course,
mm,
there's nothing like for a tactile feeling of your image. Um,
mm.
I would love to print more of my images, and on and off I do print. Yes, just to get the feel and to get the sense of feel. Yes,
Right.
so it is
So,
important.
so the guy is sending me questions, but I think he missed a very important question, which Vivek asked. What is
Yeah.
your love that you have this fascination for series of tricolor? What is that
Okay.
fascination? Can you please elaborate more on that?
Um, uh, so I wasn't going to talk about that series because it's ongoing and I've been doing it for over a decade now.
It's totally your
Um,
call. If you still want to keep it under the wraps, it's totally up to you.
if you don't mind, I would like to.
Sure,
But
we respect that.
soon I will discuss
We
that. But
respect that. We respect
right,
that.
soon I will.
Vivek, don't ask that question again. Rishabh, Rishabh Dayal, do you connect with photography with spirituality? If yes, then
Very much.
how this practice shift your perspective? If yes, then how this practice shift your perspective? I didn't get that
I
actually,
get
but
that. I get the question. I
yeah.
got
So
the
do you
question.
connect
Yes.
with photography with spirituality?
Very much. I think the one thing that I have learned along the way is that we are all one. Be it any race, any culture, any gender, we are
Mm,
all embers of the same fire, of the same spark, and I apply that in my work as well because, especially for portraiture and especially for shooting, these kind of cultures that are found in remote places where they don't have much, um, you know, they have not been exposed so much to the modern society. They're
right.
still a little closed in their mind and in their mindset. I need to, it's very important for me to go down to their level or to
Mm,
understand their culture or their mindset to be able to to break into their minds and their homes and their systems
mm,
basically. So
right.
that for me is very important to understand their cultures, their values, and that will
Mm,
only happen if I truly believe in my heart and
mm,
that person I'm shooting is no different from me, and
mm,
I think that is where spirituality comes into play.
right.
Yeah.
This is another question which says that how to work with photo stories. is there a basic guidelines for making a story?
A basic guideline for making a story. Um, um, I think you definitely need to plan a little bit before you start, because
Mm,
somewhere along the line, a photographer like me, and I get so
mm,
pulled into I get so pulled into the entire thing that sometimes I
mm,
lose semblance of what I'm actually supposed to be doing, because I'm so busy enjoying,
mm,
I'm cherishing those moments that I am while shooting the story. So having a little bit of a pre-plan,
mm,
where you know that I need to have a series of, say, 6 shots
mm,
with establishing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So
mm.
there needs to be a kind of a flow happening between these 6 shots. So it
Right.
depends on your story,
Mm,
depends on your how you briefly outline it,
right.
and then you definitely need to pull out of whatever it is you're doing and
Mm,
refocus,
mm,
recalibrate, and get back into the moment and
mm,
get that shot number 2, and then get that shot number 3. So
mm.
a photo series, a story will definitely need
A little bit of
need you
homework.
to, and yeah, for sure, yeah,
Yeah.
a little
All
bit of
right.
homework, yes. But
All
having
right.
said that, please, shoot instinctively.
Yeah.
Do your homework, but use your instinct.
Good. So how do you, this is by Jyotirmoy Das. How do you define your stories? The truth or the hidden truth?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Um, truth is never kept under wraps. It will eventually show up. So it's the truth.
Mm, it's the truth.
So
So,
it's the truth.
I have this last question. This is by Curvy Craze. Okay.
Okay.
Is is there someone you wish you had shot in the bygone era?
Oh, my dad.
I knew that
Definitely,
answer.
definitely.
And I think anybody who's listening would have guessed it by now. So,
Yeah, I definitely, I would have loved to document him because he was such a inspiring soul.
so guys, whosoever are listening, I think it was such an inspirational talk. It was really, really, lovely to talk and have you. And before,
Thank you.
this is the last talk of this session or this series. We will definitely come back with more interesting things and more interesting people. But for this whole season, this is the last talk, and you were the hero of the last talk. and and
Thank you.
guys, if you want to know about the upcoming talks, then they're going to be on Book My Show. It's there. Lakshmi, thank you so much for being here,
Thank you very
and
much, Vineet. Thank you.
and
Thank you
really
for,
enjoyed. Thank you,
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to Leica Store New Delhi as well. And you're amazing as always. I'm your biggest fan.
thank you, thank you. See you.
All
Bye
right.
bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. See you. You too. Stay safe.